Mark Hadfield is a professor in the School of Education at the University of Wolverhampton, UK. A professor with a hands-on focus, he is motivated by creating research-based materials that can be of practical use. This approach is clear in his article, Becoming Critical Again, Reconnecting Critical Social Theory with the Practice of Action Research. In this 20-year reflexive account of his examination and use of critical social theory in combination with action research, Hadfield writes on the ongoing tensions between pragmatists and critical theorists and their distinct approaches to critical social theory. Citing Eliot's position that critical theories frame rather than shape critical praxis, Hadfield criticizes Karen Kemmis' model, which is a cornerstone of action research. Hadfield also cites three elements to the Eliot argument, Eliot shown here. The practical theorizing that arises from practitioners making changes and reconstructing meaning from those changes rather than relying upon critical social theory as a standard for evaluating change. The duality of theory and practice, in which theory and its perceived emancipatory utility is privileged within the model, and Karen Kemmis' insistence on a consensus-based approach and its danger to the application of a normative liberal agenda. What does this mean for Hadfield? Essentially, consensus has its dangers. The majority rules, and those who are engaged but not in agreement with the direction of the group are effectively disabled by the process. Hadfield, on his journey of understanding, was concerned that emancipating others from an existing ideology meant imposing a brand new one. He reinterpreted Habermas's foundations of action research, Habermas shown here, loosened the constraints of the Karen-Kemmis model, and recognized that various forms of reasoning may be prioritized by different communities of practice as their needs dictate. Essentially, no one form of critique fits all. A sound idea put forward by the author is to constantly question this process of the reification of linkages between human interest, knowledge, and methodologies, and their creation of a set of categories that become embedded and problematic. Practitioners would do well to recognize the different logics at play at the same time and take time to parse them, which would allow for the critique of their own practice and a process of self-reflection. For Hadfield, a theoretical distance from which practice is reflected upon is very personal, highly contextualized, and practically based. This would allow for greater personal and perhaps revelatory insight. And this is the essence of Hadfield's challenge to traditional consensus-driven research. Rather than support a consensus-driven group direction, he advocates for a more organic model in which schemata drives group direction. This metaphor can recognize points of convergence and agreement, while still leaving room for difference. As an action research bricoleur, Hadfield argues that action research practitioners can and should make use of the theoretical, critical, and methodological tools available to effectively meet their own needs.